Yo, I'm Q Harrison. This is the Sports Card Strategy Show with your man, Paul Hickey. What's good? No off season. When you get into this game, the reason why you pay someone like Paul Hickey to get your sports card strategy together is because sometimes when you're starting out, you need perspective, you need wisdom, you need insights. And so he's been around the track enough times where he can actually coach you up and guide you. Doesn't mean he's going to take you to the promised land tomorrow, but you now have a coach by your side that can advise and kind of even create these pathways where you can get the education yourself. And that's a lot better than thugging it out on your own.
What's up, everybody? I'm Paul Hickey with NoOffSeason.com. This is the Sports Card Strategy Show. Don't forget to get a free 30-day trial at NoOffSeason.com today to help you make money flipping sports cards. Build your sports card investment portfolio, get unlimited advice from our experts, and take sports card school to navigate the hobby. That's NoOffSeason.com. Get your free 30-day trial today. All the data we use on the Sports Card Strategy Show is from MarketMoversApp.com. Use code NOOFFSEason at MarketMoversApp.com to get 20% off for life after a free 14-day trial. All right, let's get to the sports card strategy. I'm Paul Hickey with NoOffSeason.com. Right next to me in the NoOffSeason.com studio is a man that most of you know and love. And if you don't know him, you're going to get to know him and you're going to love him. It's Kendall, the Lefty McKee. What's up, brother? How you doing?
What's up? We back, baby. Oh, man, this is fun, Paul.
We are back, the Sports Card Strategy Show. Kendall, the Lefty McKee, is going to join us regularly, and I am pumped about it. On today's show, we are going to talk about something that Lefty and I think about all the time, the importance of dollar cost average when going all in on sports cards. We're going to talk quickly about the June release calendar. Should we care about Panini exclusive deals for Jannik Sinner and Emmitt Smith? Two polar opposite athletes in a lot of ways. And we're going to go through some of our top sports card opportunities to buy, graded, and flip. Spoiler alert, Giannis and Steph are two of the guys we're going to be talking about today. And if you are in the live chat, we are going to give you some serious love. So drop your L's, drop your dubs. We'll shout you out throughout the show. If you have any questions, we'd love it if you go to nooffseason.com/ask, and we are going to answer them every week on the premium pod. Surprise, surprise. Spoiler alert, Lefty's going to be joining me there as well pretty regularly. And of course, if you like the content we're putting out on a daily, weekly basis, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe at youtube.com/Paul Hickey. And if you want to get into the discussion even more, we did set up a Discord, and Lefty and I are pretty active there regularly, I would say, in spite of our busy schedules. You can get the link to join our Discord at sportscardstrategy.com. And speaking of getting into the discussion, Lefty, it's time for our question of the day.
Come on.
So I'm going to ask it, and then you're going to give us your answer here. I'm excited for your answer. Question of the day. And if you want to see this, go to Instagram at Sports Card Strategy, and it's our pinned post right now. Which June sports card release are you most excited about? So according to Beckett's website, there's not that many releases in June, but there's a few, and they kind of run the gamut across all sports. So I'm just going to quickly rattle them off. Lefty, if I missed anything, let me know, but I'm excited to see which June sports card release you're most excited about. Topps Series 2 Baseball 2024. Topps Dynamic Duels Baseball 2024. 2023-2024 Donruss Optic Basketball. 2023-2024, get ready for this one, Topps G League Basketball. And if that's not weird,
this is my favorite one.
I can't wait to hear your take on this one. 2023-2024 Donruss Turkish Airlines EuroLeague Basketball.
Let's go.
Who's not pumped about that one? 2024 Leaf Football. 23-24 Panini Contenders basketball, a little rookie ticket auto action there. 2023 Panini One football. That's right. The 2023 football releases are not done hitting the market. 23-24 Topps Museum Collection UEFA Champions League. Lefty's a soccer guy. Who knows? Maybe that's the one he's most excited about. 23 Panini Immaculate WWE. 23-24 Topps Chrome NBL basketball. For those of you who don't know, that's the Australian Professional League. 24 Panini Stars and Stripes USA baseball. 24 Donruss NASCAR Racing. That's definitely going to be my least favorite. 23-24 Panini Select Premier League Soccer. 23-24 Topps Chrome UEFA Champions Club Champions Soccer. So that's going to be a little bit different than the regular UEFA Champions League, I would think. And then 2024 Panini Prism WWE. So before we get Lefty's June sports card release that he's most excited about, a reminder, go to Instagram, Sports Card Strategy, pinned post. Let us know what you think. And drop a comment below at youtube.com/Paul Hickey. We say hello to Boudini's Cards and Comics, Eric Grunberger, which is a new name. I love the Lefty. We haven't done a show in this format together in a while where there's a live chat. E.G. Grunberger and Anthony Spizziri. Those are two new names. And Spizziri's looking forward to Leaf football.
Spizziri, Grunberger, and what was the other first ones?
Boudini Cards and Comics, who's a tried and true. He's been in the live chat before. But the other two, welcome everybody to the Sports Card Strategy Show. Lefty, take it away. What are you thinking about June releases here?
Yeah, June is obviously not a hot month for release. The release that's probably the most publicized and the most common, I would think, is the Series 2 baseball. There's actually quite a bit of really cool autos that are going to come out on the top end of the Series 2. But that's not my pick because of just how much paper product that's in. You guys know, as a sports card investor, we don't necessarily we don't recognize opening wax as a strategy for the most part. And so where we are at with these is we are looking at getting into singles in some of these releases. And so some of the high level singles of a Series 2 baseball are going to be fine, but it's not one of them that I'm particularly excited about. I have to be honest, didn't even know that there was a Turkish Airlines Euro basketball 2023-2024 Donruss. I have to be honest and feel like there's probably a guy in that release that's going to get drafted in the NBA. It just feels like maybe I'm overlooking something there. There's no behind that. That's not a leading question. That's seriously me just being ignorant to it. But feels like there's enough Euro people coming into the draft this year that it could be maybe they're in that release. But honestly, Paul, the one I'm the most excited for in this release is the Topps 23-24 Museum Collection UEFA Champions League that you led to. The reason why I'm a little more excited about it over the Topps Chrome UEFA Club Champion or Competition Soccer, the Club Competition Soccer will be the average one that we will invest in. So there will be cards that are investable out of that product. But out of this museum collection in UEFA Champions League, they have singles that end up getting kind of you know how some players can have a cult following sometimes? Well, there's some of these museum cards parallels that can have a cult following as well. And I like some of these names in the product, and they're names that we talk about. We've talked about Rasmus Højlund. We've talked about Jamal. We've talked about Pulisic a lot. Obviously, Vinny Jr.'s in this. There is a Reina Dortmund parallel in here. Saka is obviously in it. We have a lot of guys, and then Xavi Simons is in it as well. A lot of guys that we have talked about on the Lefty Card Show in our soccer segment that we talk about weekly, where we have guys that need to be in products for them to be investable. You have to have cards that are in a product for them to be investable for the most part. And there's guys in here that I really like and that deserve a good looking card. So there's some young guys in here that I think they did well by putting them in the checklist. And I like what I see. So that's where I'm at with the museum collection. It's kind of been one of my favorites to at least look at. So I'd be interested to see what those look like.
Yeah, and there's some big names here too. You mentioned a lot of the young guys, which I'm totally in alignment with you on, but there's also Haaland, Ronaldo. You've got Messi in here, Mbappe's in here. So even though Messi's been in the MLS for a while, like he's still, it says he's in this release in his Barcelona kit, and you've got Mbappe in here in his PSG kit. So interesting that you can still get some of those guys, and then a lot of
yeah. I mean, I think those guys will be in sets till forever.
Probably,
so
right. Yeah.
I mean, like, are you not going to put Messi in a soccer set? You know, that's going to eliminate some of the buyers. Unfortunately, they don't have Florian Wirtz in this set, which I was a little upset about. There's a couple of guys that are not in this checklist that I wish were, but yes, there are a lot of good names in here.
And Lamine Yamal, who you and I have talked offline about, and then you and Turner talked about him on Lefty cards. It's an RC designation here for him, so that could be an interesting card.
Yep. Yeah, for a 16-year-old to have their first RC card would be is a good card to look at. And that is honestly one of the reasons why I brought this up. So
yeah. So George Schurer in the house. Good to see you. And let's get into my favorite release of June that I'm most excited about. And
Prism WWE.
Yep, you got me. Prism WWE, Immaculate WWE. Lefty's messing around. For those of you who don't know, I would probably be the last person to buy WWE cards. I was thinking of Chase Krim. I almost dropped that before you did, but yeah, good call on that. So he's trying to throw me off track, everybody. Lefty's trying to throw me off track. I'm trying to stay focused. I'm still thinking about what my favorite release is, and I'm trying to do some research on this Turkish Airlines EuroLeague basketball at the same time. So while I'm doing that, while I'm gathering myself, e.g. Eric Grunberger, his L of the week in the live chat says, thinking it was a good idea to buy half a case of Obsidian boxes. Lefty just made the point. We don't typically recommend buying and ripping wax as a sports card strategy, but I think, Lefty, what you were saying is like, we kind of look at these releases. Okay, what singles are going to be hitting the market? How is that going to affect everything else that we're trying to do from a singles perspective? And then you mentioned the Turkish Airlines EuroLeague basketball release related potentially to the NBA draft. Interesting here that, you do always have some players in these releases that you need to pay attention to, because not all of them are coming out of college anymore. Not all of them are coming out of the Bowman Chrome University set. As I look at the Turkish Airlines, I actually see things like a Pau Gasol, Luka Doncic dual auto, because those guys played in the EuroLeague.
Oh, that's cool.
From a prospecting standpoint, though, I wonder if the G League release is something we should give some attention to. Ron Holland, I think, is a G League Ignite player. He's got an auto in here, and I think he's a potential lottery pick.
Is Pete Nance Larry Nance Jr.'s younger brother?
Pete Nance, does he have... you might need to look that one up. Why don't you look that one up as I continue to go through, because obviously the Nance name here is a name, but Larry Nance Jr. obviously plays for the Pelicans. So I don't know.
It is his younger brother.
So it's Larry Nance Jr.'s younger brother. Good call.
So it's Larry Nance's son.
So it's Larry Nance's other son. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Cool. So I think Ron Holland, maybe Pete Nance. Who knows? I don't know how big of a prospect Pete Nance is. The other thing is, so the NBL, right? The Australian League. I wanted to look up real quick. Alexander Sarr is the projected #1 overall pick, and I believe he's from Australia. So I wanted to see, is he on the checklist? And there's not a full checklist on Beckett's website. So I don't know. I don't even know if he played. I would assume he played in the NBL, but I'm not sure. So as of now, the projected #1 overall pick in a year, really, where I think maybe the top 15 could all be pretty equal. So I don't know how big of a deal Alex Sarr is going to be. You may not really have investable cards, but I've put out some content at nooffseason.com about summer league plays, NBA draft plays. So go check that out. Sergeant Slab's in the house. Good to see you.
He is playing with the Perth Wildcats of the Australian National Basketball League.
Okay, so he would not be in the NBL release. So good info there.
No,
right.
No, he is.
Well, if that sounds like a different league though, right? So NBL sounds like a different league than the league that you just described.
Australian National Basketball League.
Yeah. Oh, well, no.
NBL.
NBL. No, you're right. Okay. You're right. Good call. Well, look for him on the Perth team. But I don't see a full checklist, but I would assume he'd be in there. I don't see his card images on the Beckett website promoting that release. So
yeah,
but anyway,
you would think that would be the lead.
That'd be like the chase. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. You never know in this day and age with name, image, likeness, and all that stuff.
Yeah, but, he could have an exclusive license or something.
I think the one I'm most excited about for real in June, and we want to know all of your opinions in the audience. So again, drop a comment below at youtube.com/Paul Hickey or go to Sports Card Strategy on Instagram, comment on our pinned post. Donruss Optic Basketball. It's hard not to get excited about that one. I mean, that's going to be more Wemby rookie cards. And, how does that end up affecting the Prism market for Wemby? I think Contenders Basketball is one that I'm excited about. Obviously, Wemby's not going to have rookie ticket autos because he is Fanatics exclusive from an auto standpoint. But I would imagine there's going to be some Wemby chase cards there. You're going to have Scoot. You're going to have Brandon Miller, some of the other rookies, Contenders rookie ticket autos there. And there's a lot of young guys, I think, in the draft class from 2023 that are going to be sleepers in the next 2 or 3 years in the NBA. So I'm excited about those two. I'm not sure, though, that it's a great sports card strategy to buy in right away on those singles. But nevertheless, it's exciting to see him hit the market. So definitely want to know from all of you guys out in the audience, which June sports card release are you most excited about? So hit us up on IG at Sports Card Strategy or youtube.com/Paul Hickey. All right. Eric Gruenberger also said his W, Lefty, was listening to my advice on Giannis. And so yesterday I dropped a 1K budget builder article for premium members at nooffseason.com about what we're about to talk about right now. Now I've run a bunch of cards through the formula. As you know, I'm in the lab on a daily basis, running cards through the formula, just trying to figure out, man, like which cards are going to bring us the highest ROI. And so Lefty, you know this. We look at trying to go where they ain't. We look at trying to get the right card for the right player at the right time. Now, I think part of that is looking at who are the top players, not only on their teams, but in the entire NBA. And then when you look at, 28 of the teams are now not playing. So you got a good sample size of going around the league and looking at who are the other top, 30 players in the league. If you take, say, Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Luka, and Kyrie out of it, who are some of the other top 30 players in the league? Two names come to mind when I start to, and I think I'm trying to frame this up as to why we're about to talk about these two guys. The way that I go through my process is I look at what teams have been competitive in recent years, because we also not only want to look at the top players, but we want to narrow it down is like who could be in the NBA finals again. And so one of the ways I do that quickest is I look at, well, who's been there in the last, say, 4 or 5 years. And the Warriors and the Bucks have been there in the last 3 years, and they've won it. Each of them have won it in the last 5 years. Their top players, Giannis and Steph Curry. So I start to say, all right, let's run a bunch of their cards through the formula and see which ones have the highest ROI. So let's go Giannis first and then Steph. two very different years. Giannis in 2013, Steph in 2009. So you've got some familiar names of releases, and you've got some that, like, especially for Steph, are just kind of like, what the heck is this release? Which I think makes the formula more important, because for those of you who don't know, and just to kind of refresh everybody out there, Lefty included, is I think it's one thing to go, okay, this is the right player and this is the right time, but it's another thing to go, what's the right card? And so I think that's the trickiest part. And so you need to go through and run as many cards as possible through the formula, then look at the formula-based rankings at nooffseason.com to kind of get an understanding. But for those of you who aren't premium members of nooffseason.com, Sports Card Strategy Show is here for you to give away some of this for free. So the cards for Giannis that will yield profit based on our formula that you can buy already graded, so you don't have to do anything with these cards for them to go up in value in the future. You just have to have what, Lefty? A selling marker, baby.
All you need is a sale marker.
All you need is a selling marker. So the way that this works is we're looking at cards that are historically selling for much less now than they will sell for at an upcoming selling marker. That selling marker being the simplest possible selling marker for basketball cards, the beginning of the NBA season at the end of October, when there's just a little bit of hype. Now, is that going to be when you can maximize the overall sales price? No, not necessarily. There could be something that happens before then, possibly in the Olympics. There could be something that happens after then, possibly a performance spike or something in the in-season tournament, or maybe even the All-Star game, or if you want to hold longer, NBA playoffs, NBA finals. But we'll get into the cards here. So, Giannis, his 2013 select 178 PSA 10 Lefty right now. The snipe price for that card, and let's not make this complicated. Snipe price basically is just based on the last comp. If you can get it for the last comp or below, you're getting it for the target cost, aka snipe price. $300 last sale. Based on historical data, conservatively, this card should sell for $405 in October, which is great, but it's an 8% ROI. Now that is with that includes all of your fees. So the snipe price, you're just buying it for $300. You don't have to worry about taxes or shipping or anything. What we do in the formula is we backload all of the fees. So we take out the fees on the front end and on the back end when we come up with the final ROI calculation. So 8% ROI, not bad. Not bad. That's just buying it now for $300, holding it in until October, should sell for around $405, 8%. Not great, not bad. But there are three other Giannis cards, Lefty, that you should do much better on. Now, the Prism 2013 base PSA 10, there's a target cost of this card at $500. There's a lot of eBay sellers out there that want $750 for this card. There's a lot that want over $600 for this card, but there are auctions where you can get this card for under $500 or right around $500. And if you're an astute eBay buyer and you want to go out there and make a bunch of offers, you can make offers around $500. You can make offers a little bit over $500. This card, historically in October, is an $850 card, which if you can get it for $500, sell it for $850 in October, that's a 36% ROI. That means if you want to net $500 off of this one card, you only need 3 of them, and you only need to put in $1,388.89 to net $500, 36% ROI. I'm going to pause there because we got a couple more Giannis cards to talk about. But Lefty, what do you think so far?
I mean, I think Giannis is one of the easiest in recent memory, one of the easiest people to look at and say, this is a great opportunity for me to buy low on him. Because of the way he exited the playoffs, because of the way he wasn't able to play with the Bucks, because of the way that they were, he's one of the league's favorite players. He's going to be back. The injuries he had were not, career threatening or whatever. They were just they were nagging at him at the wrong time. And Giannis is a card darling as well. Yeah, I would say, there's a lot of people that strictly collect Giannis cards. So, I mean, Paul Hickey at one time was just all about his Giannis cards, and so there's times where people have been ecstatic about this guy, and I think right now people are not. But I think it doesn't take very much opportunity for people to get just as excited again in the near future. Milwaukee has the 23rd pick in the 2024 draft. They have to do something with that. I know that's not a lottery pick, and it's not a sexy pick either, but it's curious to me what Milwaukee's going to do moving forward. The Middleton, Lillard, Giannis is good, but is it good enough? And is it good enough to potentially be better than the Celtics in the Eastern Conference? And no telling what the Sixers are going to do, so and then every other player or every other team is wanting to be there too. So I think it remains to be seen what Giannis will do. I think he will still compete for MVPs though, and that is a non-negotiable for him. He's one of the bona fide best players in this league, and he has MVPs attached to his name already. So you can feel safe and secure investing in this guy as long as he can stay healthy.
Absolutely. He's got 2 MVP awards, 8-time All-NBA. I mean, 2021 NBA Finals MVP, I think being the league MVP and the Finals MVP is always like two of the things that you want to look for when you're trying to buy a guy with a selling marker coming up. Shane Graham in the live chat says, love me some Giannis, looking to pick up some more of him this offseason. Shane also validating our formula-based snipe prices. Should be able to get the Giannis Select for cheaper than $300, Shane says. So, Lefty, I'm going to see if this is my PSA package at the front door. Take things away. I'll be right back, brother.
Yeah, he told me previously to when we started this episode, if his dog started barking, that is his Ring doorbell. It's old school, a little old school from Paul. As we know, he's the Dave Ramsey of sports cards. He's not going to invest in a Ring doorbell, but he has a dog that's going to tell him when packages are here. So as he was telling me, his FedEx guy loves to work with him a little bit and wait a little bit longer for him to get to the door, but he's excited about a PSA package coming in today. And he said it might be coming in today during our podcast. So here we are. It doesn't look like he has a package in his hands. So it looks like a strikeout again.
What's up, Hector? Opening a PSA reveal live. Let's go. Unfortunately, not yet. It was a false alarm.
I just explained the whole thing to them, and I also explained you're obviously the Dave Ramsey of sports cards because you don't have a Ring doorbell, you have a dog, old school style.
That's exactly right. And I did buy the cheapest Ring doorbell. I just haven't installed it yet. But in my Dave Ramsey fashion, I bought the $59 Ring doorbell. So I haven't trained my dog to have a particular bark for the FedEx person yet. That's different than when my wife orders furniture to the front door. So left my wife's furniture sitting on the porch to run back and finish the show with you guys. May or may not be sprinting off again. So, So Giannis, his 2013 Hoops 275 base PSA 10. Lefty, you and Turner talked about this on Lefty Cards. You talked about the same card. And I just bought one. I just got one for the snipe price, $174. That's not my comp, by the way. So that card is going for that price. So, I think a lot of times, Lefty, we will make a recommendation or other content creators will make a recommendation, and it's based on a previous sale, but not necessarily something that is doable for the audience. This one is like this card, all of you looking to make money flipping sports cards, this is a card you should go buy right now. There's a ton of them. You can get them for this price. You can find auctions. You can make offers on eBay. This is a 49% ROI card. So the way that I break that down, again, per our formula, is historical sales data. This card sells for $325 in October. It's selling for $175 now. For all the reasons that Lefty just talked about regarding Giannis, as well as the fact that he's still only 29 years old, you definitely can find 6 of these cards at this price. And the reason why I say that is because if you want to just set a goal for yourself, I want to make $500 net profit on one sports card, this could be the one to do it on. If you have $1,011, you can make that play to find 6 of them. If you don't, can you scrounge up $175? Because you can still make 50% profit on your $75 after fees and everything. So I think this is a great one. I think it's like the every person's Giannis rookie card. And it's not often that you can go make 50% on a base card like this. But given the fact that it's from 2013, there's not as many Giannis rookie cards as there are like Anthony Edwards and Luka and the other top players in the league. I think, this is a great play that we can all make. So I'm excited about this one. I'm excited I got one. I'm going to keep bidding on these cards. So
yeah, I'm also trying to acquire more of these. I have one of them, but because of what happened, the way I held for Giannis's playoff sale marker. And of course, as we just talked about, that didn't go well. So I'm still holding this Giannis card. So if the projection that the formula is talking about is still more than I spent on the card. So I'm still going to be selling when everyone else is, but that's something we'll talk about in a minute. I plan on buying more of these cards over the summer so that my ROI is different. And there you go. Maybe that's a little, what's that called in a book?
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing.
Perfect foreshadowing to the discussion we're going to have in a minute, everybody. So stick around for that on the importance of dollar cost average when you believe in a sports card play. Lefty hitting the nail on the head right there. The gold version of this card. Most of us are familiar with this, just a slight variation. It's the same card, but it has a gold border. It's about, it's a little over 2 times the price, $371. It's going to be a little bit harder to find because there weren't as many printed, but you still should be able to find it. So the snipe price is $371. It's obviously going to have bigger upside. Now, we talked about this, like what's interesting about the formula, right? And the reason why I love it so much is because I think pre-formula, Lefty and I probably would have recommended, hey, you've got to buy, say, the Prism base to have the upside that might be a bigger upside than the Hoops base.
Yeah.
And so now you're in a situation where, as we just showed you, the Hoops base actually has higher ROI upside than the Prism base, but the gold, which is more Prism-esque than Hoops-esque because it is a shorter printed card and lower pop count, has the highest upside out of all of these, even though it's not going to sell necessarily for the $850 that the Prism would sell for. It's only going to sell for around $750. The buy-in price is $119 less. So therefore, you make 62% ROI on this card based on our formula, which is all projections, right? Like there's no guarantee, but that's double the ROI of the Prism base. So out of all these Giannis cards, the punchline is if you can find the Hoops gold PSA 10 from 2013, that is going to be your highest ROI, already graded Giannis card that you can find at 62% ROI. So if you set a goal of making $500 net profit on one sports card, you really just need 2 of these for your dollar cost average of $371. And you would only need $810 total to make $500, which that's really what we're trying to help you do.
Yeah, you do that over and over and you're going to be a millionaire. So if you're risking 8, making 5, that's great return. I mean, 62% return in what is that? 4 or 5 months, 6 months. Like those, to put that into investing perspective, that is out of this world in other markets. If real estate was 62% return in 6 months, there would be no houses left. Like everybody would be buying them. And because like all the sharks would be just like swimming in that water. This is a market that is obtainable if you hustle hard and have the right information. And I've always said, bet on yourself, bet 4 or 5 grand on yourself and put money into this kind of a formula. See if it works for a year and a half. And it's going to more than likely. And you're at the bottom of a bubble. You know, like we've come off of a bubble in the sports card market. Getting in now is a great time to see that floor continue to rise. You're not coming in at a peak at this point. Now you can come in at a peak on a card. That's totally different. But in market cycles, you are not coming in at a peak anymore. And so this is a great time to bet on yourself. A card like this, you know, if you're making $500 on $800 invested, that's ridiculous return. Just to put that in perspective.
Yeah, definitely. And so if you want to get into this, go to nooffseason.com, check out our formula-based rankings. You can get a free 30-day trial. And then when you click on the card that we're talking about, it'll take you to the player's profile page. On the player's profile page, we link directly to the eBay search queries for that particular card. Now, from there, you got to do your own navigating to make sure that you're bidding on the right card. But all of these Giannis cards you can make money on. And for those of you new to the hobby, new to the sports card strategy show, I mentioned go where they ain't a minute ago. What does that mean? It means, in the simplest possible terms, relating it to, say, the NBA Finals, which are happening right now, it means don't get excited about Luka, Kyrie, Derek Lively, Jaylen Brown, who I think could be the Finals MVP. You know, I mean, you want to buy into those guys because that's the way our brains are wired. Lefty, we could probably have a whole other episode on that topic. Our brains are wired to go in on what's happening now. And that's fine. But if you want to make money flipping sports cards, it's not fine. You need to go where they ain't, which means look around the league, like I said earlier. And as we go out west into the Western Conference, Steph Curry's a guy with 1 million rookie cards from forever ago. And, you know, I ran a ton of them through the formula. And there's some that you can make a little bit of money on. I would say, I would think, like, again, pre-formula, Lefty and I probably would have said the right card would be something like his Topps rookie because it's iconic. It's like the babyface rookie. And it's Topps. You know, the brand probably is better than like the upper deck, the upper deck, you know, college uniform cards that Steph had from 2009, Panini Prestige. You know, he had a bunch of Panini brand cards, but then when you run them all through the formula, you find some interesting things. You find that out of all of his Topps cards, which ones are actually affordable that are already graded? You know, they're pretty darn expensive to get into. They're much more expensive than the Giannis cards we talked about. So when you look at the Topps 321 babyface card, PSA 7 is a $490 buy-in. PSA 8 is a $553. By the way, what's interesting about that is, and the formula validates this, what I'm about to say, if a PSA 7 is $490 and a PSA 8 is $63 more in a sort of older card like this, I would say pay the extra $63 to get the 8. Like, yeah, for sure. And the formula says so as well, because the PSA 8 historically will sell in October for $800. The PSA 7 will historically sell in October for $617, which is a 15% difference related to your ROI. So you're really not going to, you're going to kind of break even on the PSA 7. You can make 16% on the PSA 8, but you can make actually much more on many of these Panini cards and even the upper deck cards. So I'm not going to run everybody through all the cards, but what's also kind of an interesting tidbit here is when we look at all these cards on the formula-based rankings for Steph, and I'll walk you guys through them, you would also think a PSA 10, again, would have higher upside. But when you go back to 2009, Steph Curry's 2009 Prestige 157 base PSA 10 gives you a 4% ROI because its snipe price is $338 and it's projected to sell for only $440 in October. That's a 4% ROI. When you go to other cards like the Panini 357 base PSA 7, there's a 46% ROI there because the latest comp is 71, but it should sell in October for $130. So again, I never would have known that without the formula that would be built at nooffseason.com. So I'm not going to run everybody through all the Steph Curry cards here, but the Steph Curry 2009 Panini 357 base PSA 7, which is super weird, is actually the highest ROI Steph Curry card on this whole list, 46%. Now you can make money on his 307 Panini base PSA 10. You can make 28% on that. And you can make 24% on his 2009 Upper Deck 196 first edition PSA 9. So I think, my main takeaway here, Lefty, other than everything I've already talked about, is like with a player like Steph Curry, you don't need a PSA 10 to make money. Other grades will work.
Yeah, I think Steph is it. It's going to be very interesting to see what Golden State does this offseason. But no matter what, Steph's a top flight player. It's an active GOAT in the NBA right now. Steph has done enough to supplant himself in the Hall of Legends already. If he were to stop playing today, his cards would be still marketable and tradable and liquid out there. So it's not an unsafe investment. But you got to wonder, where are Golden State as a market going? They don't have a pick until pick 52 right now, which is crazy. And they're kind of trying to run it back old school with a market of guys that has worked previously, but hasn't gotten it done the last couple of years. So it's like, what are they going to do? Is Steph going to have another player come in and play alongside him? Thompson fell off this year. We saw all sorts of drama with Green, they traded away some of their young guys. And so there are pieces there, but you're just wondering, is Golden State happy with where the roster's at? And then are they just letting Curry play it out and eventually get statistical goals? Like, are they saying, hey, we're not competing for championships, but Steph, we want you to get so many 1,000 points or whatever? Like, is that the goal in their short term? Or is the Curry being on the roster still wanting to compete for championships? Because if that's the case, these cards will have quite the upside, in my opinion, because right now the Warriors are bad. Bad in terms of where they have been. They're probably still a mid, maybe a play-in tournament, maybe team next year if they're currently right where they're at, but it's not looking great. And that team is going to continue to get worse unless they add other pieces to it. So you wonder what happens with Steph. Now, I do believe in this formula, and I do believe buying a PSA 7 is not something I would have ever recommended without some additional algorithm help. So I'm happy with what we have here, and I'm happy we have a tool like this to be able to continue to challenge where we are, what our assumptions are, and make us better at our job, like Paul, your and I's job of continuing to put good content out and good recommendations and good advice out, because we still need to always be pushing ourselves. And it's a thing like the formula is going to be able to push that always to the forefront of you have an assumption, but maybe this is better. And to see a 46% return potentially on a PSA 7 Panini where he looks like he's 7 years old in the picture, that's just not a card I would have bought without looking at the potential ROI. Yeah.
And Hector says Seam's formula helps take your heart out of the equation. Helpful. And that's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. So a couple quick notes on Golden State, because you brought up a couple good points I want to add to before we segue into our next topic. Is Steph's 36. He averaged 26.4 points in 74 games last year. So he's still playing at a very, very high level, and I expect him to be. And anytime you have Steph Curry on a team, remember, basketball, yes, you do have to be deep to go far into the playoffs, and Golden State is bad. Couple of things. They've been bad and then turned it around in recent years and won a championship. They do have some nice young talent. Jonathan Kuminga, this will be a contract year, as he is slated to be a restricted free agent in the 2025 offseason. He is a guy I actually really, really like. I need to run some Jonathan Kuminga cards through the formula to see if there's any opportunities for him, because he has sold well since his rookie cards hit the market. So, but yeah, I think one thing about the formula is that, we talk about these snipe prices, And, we've had Shane Graham chime in and say, yeah, you can definitely get them for the snipe prices. We've had, me give you examples of, yeah, I've got this for the snipe price. It's not always going to be easy to get it for the snipe price or the target price. It is going to be critical to get it to the target snipe price. But if you can't get it for the snipe price, if you can at least bring your dollar cost average as close as possible to the snipe price, you can still win. And dollar cost average is where we're going to go next. And for those of you wondering, what the heck is this guy talking about? I thought this was a sports card show, not a math show. Well, as you can tell, we're kind of a fusion of everything because we want to help you make money flipping sports cards. The hobby is something that we all love. It's our way of keeping people in the hobby. It's our way of doing a service to the hobby so that you don't lose money, right? We don't want you walking away from the hobby. And so sometimes you might have bought a card and the value has gone down. You're like, oh no, what do I do? I'll give you an example. I bought a Jalen Hurts 2020 Optic Holo PSA 10 in late December, early January. I talked about it on the Sports Card Strategy Show with Lefty. I was so excited because my point was I got it for $280 and I had sold it in late August for close to $360, $370. So I was like, this is great. I sold it for a profit earlier. Now I'm buying in at almost $100 less than what I sold it for. How phenomenal is this? Well, what continued to happen throughout the NFL offseason is the value of that card continued to go down. So what do you do in that scenario? Well, here's what I did. I ran that card through the formula, right? And I realize I've talked about the formula 97 times already in today's episode, but it's critical. I ran it through the formula to try to find out what's the ROI on this card, AKA, should I keep buying it? Now, the target price for this card right now is $200. So I'm $80 under, but instead of like rolling up in a ball and hiding and crying about my loss of $80, I'm saying, well, is there still margin in this card? Can I lower my dollar cost average as close as possible to the $200 so that now I can be up as much as possible and essentially eliminate the $80 loss that I have right now? And I've been able to pretty much do that. I bought another one in June for $228 and I bought another one in June for $208. Now it's down to $200, but the formula tells me that this card should still sell for around $360 in August, which is a 44% ROI. So it's still, even if it doesn't sell for $360, even if I have to pay a little more than $200 on my dollar cost average, I'm still making a profit on this card, really with nothing else happening. So a Jalen Hurts 2020 Optic Holo PSA 10. Now my dollar cost average is down to $238. And if I keep buying this card, I can get it pretty well close to $200. Lefty, we've talked about this before. Take it away, man. What do you think?
Well, I think it's important to have an accurate understanding of what dollar cost averaging is from a fundamental standpoint. And you've explained it with the Jalen Hurts card, but essentially it's taking your investment and then looking at where it's at. And instead of crying about, like you said, crawling up in a ball, and it is to come down as far as you can with an average. So you're spending more money to bring your cost of initial investment down. This started it was really popular on Wall Street when people were saying, I'm going to invest a certain amount of money every single month into this particular asset, so I don't have to worry about putting all of my money in at one time on maybe a peak of a market. And so you can't essentially do that in sports cards because, well, I mean, you can at one point when there was a boom in 2020 and 2021, you could invest in fractional ownership of large cards. I would not recommend that. But what you can't necessarily say, okay, I'm going to allot $100 for a Jalen Hurts 2020 Optic Holo every month, and I'm just going to continue to spend $100 on Jalen Hurts Optic. That's not exactly how our particular market works, but how a dollar cost averages would work in our potential market is you're saying, okay, wherever that buy price is, it just needs to be lower than where I have purchased it previously and lower than where I potentially want to sell it at in the future to get my average down. So unless that was not clear previously stated, but this is something that I have done as well, because over the last year and a half, maybe, I've been preaching 2014 World Cup Messi, 2014 World Cup Messi, 2014 World Cup Messi. And I first bought one at $200. That card is just north of $100 right now. So I have more than I should I'm overextended if I were to sell everything right now. Now, do I still believe Messi is an incredible investment? Yes, I've said that over and over and over. Copa America starts tomorrow Friday. Messi is going to continue to be on the Argentina team. They're playing the United States. This has CONCACAF teams, which is basically new North American and Central American teams against South American teams. It's going to be one of the biggest televised tournaments since or in the World Cup cycle. That's not the World Cup. Messi will be on the stage. He's going to continue to win stuff this offseason or this season for Inter Miami. He's still going to be the guy that you want to invest in. So I'm still willing to come down to the prices. I bought one of these for $200 2 years ago, which honestly was probably an overpay when I first started paying for them. I just bought another one a month ago at the Dallas show when I was walking around with Paul for $60. Now, I believe that this card will sell at a much higher rate than where it's at right now. Like I don't know what the projection of it is on the formula, which would be an interesting thing for us to calculate. But this World Cup Messi card is low pop count. It's a card that my favorite card to invest in for the price point when you're talking about Lionel Messi. There are other cards that I would like if you have an abundant amount of money, but there are no more that I like that are at the $100 price point more than this one. There's a 2018 World Cup card that's about the same price. I'm not interested in that because the pop count is different. There are 2004 cards that I really like for Messi that I would say extend into those if you can. But this, for the price point, I think is a great asset for you to continue to acquire, because right now my dollar cost average is already down to $125.50, and it was $145 when I didn't have that $60 price point sale at the Dallas show. So because I'm acquiring more, it's coming down and down and down and down to a place where I feel comfortable selling.
Yeah, you lowered your dollar cost average by the definition that I've been going by to $130, which, just in one purchase, rather than saying, oh man, that card's only $60 now, what do I do? I mean, Lefty, very astute. He's in it for more of the long game because Messi is an active GOAT. His market is going to go back up at some point, and we just don't know when it's going to be. And especially for that 2014 Prism World Cup, I mean, that's now a 10-year-old card. And so in a PSA 10, the pop count's not going to continue to grow. But the interest in Messi is not going to go away either. So I think the playing the dollar cost average game with a card like the Messi 2014 World Cup makes sense. I think you could play it wisely with just about any card, but you got to do your own homework to make sure you have a reason and a play for why you're going to do it. So let us know if you have any questions. Drop a comment below at youtube.com/Paul Hickey. We'll answer.
Can I add one other thing to this?
The dollar cost average. What else you got, Lefty?
So the one other thing I was going to say is I said the pop count between 2014 and 2018 are different. When you look at the pop count of the PSA 10s, you're going to see that the pop count of the PSA 10 on the 2018 World Cup Messi card is lower by about 1,000. But the print run of the entire product is lower for 2014. So that's what I mean by the pop count, not the PSA 10 pop count. I mean the entire card pop count of the print run is lower, which is why I'm going after 2014. And so sorry if that was a bit confusing, because typically when we talk about pop count, we're talking about graded pop counts. In this particular sense, I'm talking about print run pop count.
Great clarification. All right, before we get to a newer segment on the Sports Card Strategy Show, I want to ask a question to everybody. Are you ready to start grading your cards? CGC Cards is the perfect place to slab your favorite sports cards. From their crystal clear holders to their affordable pricing, CGC Cards is the perfect stop for your grading needs. Go to cgccards.com to start grading today. Of course, it makes a lot more sense for your PC protection than it does for selling on the secondary market. That's why we talk all the time about PSA when grading for secondary market flipping purposes, but we still love CGC. So, all right, there's a couple I would say, Lefty, there's probably like dozens of announcements now in the sports card world related to news. There's obviously new card releases that we've talked about. There's all these, there's Panini versus Fanatics. There's all these different marketplaces now. So there's just news. There's more and more athletes getting into their own trading cards and things like that. So there's all this news. And I think our show is typically geared on helping you narrow your focus to which cards to buy to make money on in the future. But I think it's fun to talk about some of the news, which is why we started this segment called Should We Care? And real quick, I know I said one thing to Lefty off the air, and I'm going to go in a different direction real quick because we're launching Should We Care. Before we get into it, I care about this guy in the live chat right now. I've wondered where the heck
I was just about to pull this up. Yeah.
RPO Sports Card says, "What's up, guys? Took a hiatus from the hobby, but I'm back and excited to listen to the shows. Good to have you back." It's James, I believe, RPO Sports Cards. Great to have you back.
You didn't miss anything. Just kidding.
You didn't miss anything. You didn't miss
anything. The hobby
anything.
has completely stood still since you left.
The world revolves around you, RPO. That's why you didn't miss anything. All right. Lefty, first piece of news. Should we care? Panini America sent me a press release the other day. Many of you are familiar with it now because the instant cards have already hit the market. Jannik Sinner, the new world #1 tennis player, signed a Panini exclusive deal, and Panini has already launched and, spoiler alert, sold out of all of his autos on Panini Instant, except for the only Panini Instant remaining is just the base, and it ends in 3 days, 20 hours, 2 minutes, and 50 seconds as of when I am talking now. But Lefty, you're a tennis card guy, right? What's your take on this Jannik Sinner?
I am a tennis card guy, as I have a couple of slabs on my desk here of the number 2 now in the nation, Carlos Alcaraz. So, a funny story about this, and let me go back just a smidge. The guy, I have an employee that works for me that love dearly, and I'm always trying to when people work for me, I'm always trying to reach out to what is something that they love that I could potentially try to learn more about. And it's my way of basically entering into their world, saying, I care about you. Is there something I can talk to you about other than work, et cetera, et cetera. And so he loves tennis. And so 2 years ago, I said, all right, dude, when I first hired him, I'm like, what do you love? I would love to, research some of that kind of stuff and be able to talk about it with you and just ask you questions. What are you passionate about that I can enter in with you? And he goes, I love tennis. And I said, great. I'm into sports cards, and tennis cards are not yet really a big thing. Who should I be investing in? And he was just like, I don't know anything about tennis cards. And I said, I don't need you to know anything about tennis cards. I just need you to know about tennis. I'll figure out the cards. I don't even know if at the time I was like, I don't even know if they have tennis cards. So I went on a rampage of investing in all these guys that he put a sticky note on my desk, and he said, these are the guys that are going to be the next level of people. His number 1 on that list was Jannik Sinner. And he said, this guy is built to be the best tennis player in the world over the next 5 to 10 years. 2 years later, Jannik Sinner hits number 1 in the world. And I bought Jannik Sinner cards at the time, excited about him. So I've been able to make money on, getting out of my Jannik Sinner cards. And at the time, he also said Carlos Alcaraz was going to be number 2 in the world. He said, he was like, we're going to have Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz be the next 2 guys as the old guard kind of moves on. And as we've seen, Djokovic just tore his meniscus, I believe, and he's now preparing for the Olympics. And we're going to see the eventual end of his career. We're going to eventually see that, which is upsetting, but still, you're going to have a new guard step in. And Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz are the next guys. And so, what does all this mean? Carlos Alcaraz just won the French Open last weekend. Yes, I'm invested in him. It's easier to find top flight cards of his because he kind of like went the traditional Spanish, like high profile, young, like he basically went through the quote unquote Dodgers minor leagues. Like everybody knew who he was. Jannik Sinner, from what I understand, has not done that. And so he's had to earn his name respect a little bit more than Carlos. Not that Carlos isn't worth it, as I'm just saying he's had to work a little bit harder for people to know who he is. And I don't think people know who he is yet. But interestingly, these cards sold out in 3 minutes, Paul. I tried to get on and I could not get a Jannik Sinner card, and I was bummed about it. And I was like, oh, the website's bugging and messing up. I'll just have to come back later. Little did I know, they sold out in 3 minutes. A tennis card on Panini Instant sold out in 3 minutes. Is that something we should be paying attention to? I believe so. I believe that sports in media today is getting a little more broad than it has been previously. I think Caitlin Clark has a lot to say about that. And so Jannik Sinner is another area where I believe sports is beginning to broaden, and the international sports scene is becoming more and more relevant. As we see basketball become more international, we see soccer obviously becoming more relevant. It's always been international, but it's become more relevant to American buyers. We've seen F1 become more relevant and it's also international. Cricket the other day had a big win against Pakistan in America, and everybody thought they were cricket fans for 5 minutes. I think it is becoming more and more international, and some of these sports are going to gain big time from it. The NBA's past like 5 or 6 MVPs have been international players. I don't think that we're going to stop seeing a more international rise of sports in America, and I believe tennis will be another sport that sees a massive rise.
That's a great point, man. That just speaks to market size, which obviously is very important in terms of being able to have the right kind of demand for your supply on sports cards. And the topic of the segment is, should we care? And I think it would be irresponsible of me as someone who wants to help you find opportunities to make money flipping sports cards if I told you not to care about this. So I'm going to tell you, in addition to everything Lefty said, I'm just going to tell you why I think you should care about this, because look at this. So just a quick recap of exactly what we're talking about here. So Jannik Sinner had several cards on PaniniAmerica.net that Lefty referred to as selling out in 3 minutes. And I'm not sure if all of these sold out in 3 minutes, but let's just say it's less than 24 hours later. All of them are sold out except for the base card, which I don't think anyone should care about. But here's why we should care about this. The 1/1 auto went for $1,500. The Jaguar out of 10 auto went for $750. The Jungle out of 25 auto went for $400. The Blue Viper 1/1 non-auto went for $600. The White Tiger out of 5 went for $200. The Jaguar out of 10 went for $130 non-auto, and the Jungle out of 25 non-auto went for $60. Now stay with me here. I said that the Jaguar out of 10 non-auto went for $130. Okay. It is already sold on eBay, confirmed sale on 130 point here, but the sale was on eBay, but 130 point confirms the sale, $370. So somebody bought it for 130, doesn't even have it in their hand yet, and sold it for 370. That's better than the formula.
That's awesome.
You probably won't hear me say those words very often on the Sports Card Strategy Show, but that is better than the formula. And that, my friends, is why you should care about this particular announcement here, because I think, Lefty, You know, we've talked about Panini Instant plays before. We've talked about Tops Now plays before. You and I have tried to make some of these Tops Now auto plays where we try to go, like we tried to go in on a Wemby one together and it was already sold out. You tried to get some of these Sinner yesterday and it was already sold out. So we're already trying these plays. If you can get them, you can flip them right away without even having them in your hand. Now on your eBay listing, you obviously have to disclose that you don't have the card yet, and that you'll get it to the buyer as soon as you get it from Panini, right? Which who knows when that's going to be. But there's money to be made on these things, on the short print serial numbered ones, even the non-autos. So I'm kind of excited about that. Lefty, let's switch gears here to another segment. The last topic under the Should We Care segment. And I'm going to say it's your guy because it's not my guy, Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith apparently signed a deal with Panini America and Reebok in a collaboration for footwear and trading cards. The collection is championed by 3 Prism-inspired iterations of historic Reebok turf training shoes. I mean, is this a stretch? Should we care about this, Lefty? What's your take on this?
Yeah, I think this is a stretch for me. Jannik Sinner is as old as, or maybe younger than the number which Emmitt Smith wore. So I think that's why generally
22 for those of you who don't know.
Yeah, there you go. And it's an ever expanding market with a lot of market share that is yet to be explored. And this Emmitt Smith is exactly the opposite. It's like trying to do a new trick on the same pony, you know. Like, I think I'm out on this one. I'm in on Jannik Sinner for several reasons, and that might shock some of you that oh, this guy I've never heard of. He's in on this. He's in on paying $1,000 for his autos, but he's out on a shoe that Emmitt Smith that everybody knows he's in on. There's so many other things that you can buy of Emmitt Smith. Like there's autos and posters and balls and cards and all this stuff. I'm just not in on this. There are better ways for me to spend my money than on Emmitt Smith's shoes.
We care about one of them. We don't care about the other. We're in alignment on that. Lefty, great work today on the Sports Card Strategy Show. Much, much more to come in the future. Anything else you want to add before I hit him with the outro, brother?
Up the toffees, man. They can't lose this week because the season is over. So we're still in the Prem, and I just want to hear you say it.
Up the toffees. That's a call for our guy SSI to get back in the live chat. Where's SSI? Southern Soccer Idiot. Hey, thanks everybody out there for being part of the NoOffSeason.com fam, Lefty, and everybody else at NoOffSeason.com. And I love you all. Everybody have a great day. We'll see you again soon. Thanks so much for being here with us on the Sports Card Strategy Show. To connect with us further, please subscribe to the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Paul Hickey. Please also give us a follow on Instagram at Sports Card Strategy and on X at NoOffSeason Card. We also have a Discord that you could join at sportscardstrategy.com. Everyone, I'm Paul Hickey. For the rest of us here at NoOffSeason.com, have a great day. We'll see you again soon.